Greetings, brothers and sisters. So, bunch of things to get to. Wendy Williams goes a little bit nuts on Instagram about her finances. I only watched a little bit of it, but it seems pretty funny. Bob Saget, big Bob Saget news, or, not big, but something, right? There's a little Bob Saget news. And a few other things to get to. I can't remember them all. First, I want to say that I'm making a long video about the heartfulness mask policy and dodging things, and really sucked my energy level. So this video is probably going to be shorter. I was hoping to get that video done today, but I just, it was a longer video than I thought, and then it's just kind of a bummer. But let me get to this part anyway. So Kanye West, still no post, still no thumbnail. And this is the Bob Saget news. Bob Saget allegedly said he didn't feel good on the night of his death.
He stated himself that he was not getting over COVID. It was one of those, he said that he had something like, he said like long-term COVID, meaning that it was taking him a long time for his body to get over it.
Okay.
He said that his hearing had been off, and that was the case for that evening. He was asking the sound guys to turn everything up, and that he had been sick the night before, and sick in the sense of like his hearing was off. He said that he had a sore throat, that he had, that he was happy that he had lozenges.
There it is, the key to the case. Bob Saget's lozenges turned on him, beat him senseless, and fractured his skull, and then jumped back into his throat and destroyed the evidence. The lozenges did it. I knew the lozenges were, I always had a lozenge theory, and now I know.
For the stage. But on the other hand, he said, well, you never know how long I'm going to perform. Last night, that he was at the Hard Rock before us, he said I performed for an hour and a half. And I know after the fact that he performed almost 2 hours at the concert hall. And here is my interpretation, because I did hear him say, I don't feel good, but I'm ready to do the show.
So this is from the last night of Bob Saget's life when it's at the, whatever it was, Comedy Store or Hard Rock Cafe or wherever he was performing that night. And this is an employee, and it's now coming out that Bob Saget wasn't feeling himself. He wasn't feeling very good the night before his, he fell and fractured his skull in about 27 different places.
He said, this is what I do this for. It's kind of like he was talking himself up, but some talent, you can tell, they like to hear themselves talk in a funny, good way.
Mm-hmm.
But
how dare you defame the sweetest man that ever lived? He did not like to listen to hear himself talk. And celebrities, they don't like to hear themselves talk. How dare you? How dare you, Hard Rock employee? How dare you?
How dare you?
Freaking out.
How
You're
dare
freaking out.
you?
It's
How
all right.
dare
Settle
you?
down.
Anything
How
you
dare
want that,
you?
but the bottom line
How
is very
dare
clear.
you?
When you
How
cross
absolutely
the border
dare you,
illegally,
sir?
you
How
have
dare
given
you?
up the
How dare you be so flippant, man?
especially comedians. And you can tell he was that type. He was getting, kind of warmed up for his show. So he was talking a lot.
Okay.
And he seemed okay. He took that last photograph right after, the last photograph of him taking a selfie of him on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, he was cracking jokes, and he's like, man, I look good. He's like, damn, I'm good at this.
Are you really calling that a joke? He's supposed to be a professional comedian. That's all that's all he could come up with.
So, he was okay.
Okay.
And to be honest, part of my job is to read people.
Yeah.
And to kind of keep an eye on things. I've worked for lots of different talent, everything from Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin to Coolio and Wu-Tang Clan.
Wow, you must be really special. You must be really special to work with all those famous people. Wow. Wow, I could talk to you forever. That's special. You're working for Julio and Wu-Tang Clan and Bob Saget. Come on. You must be a really special person.
So big part of my job is to read the room, read people, and he seemed okay. He really did, and it was very surprising the next day.
It says here, this is the woman here, showrunner Rosalie Kooky, I don't know, told Orange County Police in an interview conducted after the actor's death, according to audio obtained by Page Six. And so I thought that they weren't releasing any of this info, right? That there had been a judge who ruled that all this info was supposed to stay private. So I'm not sure how they got this information and why now, right? Because all that's important. And it came out during the autopsy that Bob Saget still had COVID, that he still had COVID when he was performing that night. And so, what's that about? And he had recently got and so there's that, right? And so, there's always going to be unanswered questions because there's obviously some sort of cover-up here. But this is another little bit of information. We'll see if anything comes of it. Probably not. I would be shocked if it did. Pete Davidson's mom wants him to have a baby with Kim Kardashian. And so, I don't think Pete would make a good dad given his mental illnesses and his drug use and, their 13-year age difference and all of it. But whatever. Kim Kardashian says Northwest complains about her style choices. She's getting a lot of run, and she's releasing clothing line. North is very opinionated when it comes to what I'm wearing. She'll always complain when I'm wearing too much black. I showed up at her school on Valentine's Day wearing head-to-toe pink, and she got so excited she ran over and hugged me. Of course, she opened my coat and saw the black lining and said, "Mom, you're still wearing black." It's a superficial life they live. Scarlett Johansson finally sells New York City penthouse at major loss. After nearly 2 years on the market, Scarlett Johansson has finally sold her longtime Manhattan penthouse. The Oscar-nominated actress, 38, purchased the two-bathroom Sutton Place spread more than a decade ago in 2008 for $2.1 million. She sold it for only $1.87 million on March 11th, record show. And so this was, post the housing bubble collapse, right? So she bought it after the housing bubble collapsed. She's had it for now, 14 years. And aside from the instant $223,000 loss, additional pricey renovations and updates to the property over the years add to her losses. So maybe she put another $500,000 into it, right? Who knows how much. And so with real estate being at an all-time high in every place but like New York, where people are bailing, right? Now it says, but with an estimated $165 million net worth and pegged as the world's highest paid actress in 2018 and 19, it's likely the Black Widow star isn't losing too much sleep over it. That is whatever it is, but New York homeowners should be, because she's also a celebrity. Buying something that a former celebrity owned and saying, hey, Scarlett Johansson used to live here, is a big plus for these superficial New York elite type people. And so this shows you how bad New York is doing, right? In the real estate market, because every place else, real estate is booming because of the inflation. People are putting their money into hard assets, but it shows you how they're bailing from New York like it's, escape from New York. U.S. has proof of Russian war crimes in the Ukraine, Anthony Blinken has said. Now, I want to talk about this separately at the end of the video because it's just much easier for me to do a voiceover about this. Voldemort Zelensky calls for worldwide demonstrations as Russian invasion enters the second month. I want to come back to this as well. U.S. announces new Russian sanctions, plans to admit thousands of Ukrainian refugees. It's actually 100,000 people he wants to bring into America, refugees. Home Depot hammered for shaming employees for their white privilege. And they have this up in the break room here. And somebody took a photo of it and posted it on the internets. And it's, it's talking about your privilege, if you're a white person, what privilege looks like, and, all these things. And they're passing it out, talking about white privilege here, and starting the conversation. And so Home Depot, getting rolled for racism equals racial prejudice and power. I'll talk about this, too, in the narrative as well. So Wendy Williams, this dude right here, had like a number of breakdowns and then sort of walked away from her show and then, has been absent but showed up on Instagram.
My thing is that I've been asking questions about my money.
Exactly. You should know about your money. Ask questions to your money.
When I began asking questions about my money, suddenly Lori Schiller has
Look out for Lori Schiller. She might be a shill.
got no response regarding my money. I want my money. This is not fair. And Wells Fargo has no questions and answers with regarding my money.
Exactly. They don't know about her money. Where's her money?
This is not fair.
Look at this ring. What's up with the ring?
And Lori Schiller and Wells Fargo have this guardianship petition about keeping me away from my money.
Don't keep her away from her money. How dare you keep Wendy away from her money?
This is not right. And this is not fair. And this guy named Bernie Young, I know for a fact that Bernie Young used my American Express card to hire an attorney to file a petition against me.
That's not right. Using your own credit card against you.
That was done with my American Express card.
You're not mine, hers.
Bernie Young.
Come on, Bernie.
You're no good. And
You're no good, Mr. Young, Mr. Bernie Young.
This is not fair.
And you're not fair.
At all.
At all.
You know? And then there's this person, a former doctor.
He used to be a doctor, now he's not.
Former doctor, okay, had medical information about me.
How did he have that if he's just a former doctor?
That I never even got.
She never got it.
It was sent over to Lori Schiller.
No way.
So I haven't gotten the stuff. I fired the doctor.
Good for you.
And again, all I want to know is where is my money? This is not.
Where's my M&F'd money, M&F'ers?
Right. And certainly, this is not fair. This is not fair.
Is it fair or is it right? I'm not sure on those points yet.
Wells Fargo has
It's Wendy 2 times. It's not fair. It's not fair.
used all this stuff to create the guardianship over me. This is not right. And certainly this is not fair.
Is it fair or is it right? I'm not sure. Is it right? Is it fair? Is it fair? Is it right?
The New York court system is, without evidence, they're being weird to me, this court system. Without evidence, they took all this information and continued with what's going on with me based on what Wells Fargo is doing. This
Is it not right? Is it not fair?
not fair. This is not fair.
Wendy, 2 times.
You know? And the New York court is treating me like they did in, do you remember Kung Fu judge case? Do you remember that Kung Fu judge case?
I do not, but please refresh my memory.
That's not right, and that
It's not fair.
is not fair.
Exactly, like the Kung Fu case.
Lori Schiller,
It's just not right or fair.
Bernie Young,
Not right or fair.
and Wells Fargo.
Not right or fair.
Please let me have access to my money. This is not right. And again, this is not fair.
Kablawi, Wendy Williams, getting her money. Get her money in line. Keep your eye on your paper, Wendy. They're trying to steal it. All right, let's go to the narrative portion. Okay, so there are 3 things I wanted to address. The first one was, the first 2 go together. The first one was that Anthony Blinken has declared that Putin is responsible for war crimes, and Zelensky wants everyone around the globe to protest the Russian war. And both these things, in terms of the hypocrisy being off the charts, is that neither one is talking about what happened with these illegal and immoral wars, the getting rid of Gaddafi, the regime change of Gaddafi, which was an illegal war waged by the UN, the United States, and France, and other NATO allies against a sitting leader who was doing a good job for his people, who was no threat, had given up his weapons of mass destruction. And Zelensky didn't call for a protest then. He didn't say shit, right? And neither did, any of these other countries. And it turned out as the British government, the parliament published a report saying the war was bogus, and it was brought to, reality through lies. And now they've looted that country and wrecked that country. But also in Iraq and Afghanistan, these illegal wars, and that depleted uranium was used in Fallujah. You guys might remember that there was a big insurgency in this place called Fallujah in Iraq. And it was brutal, heavy artillery fighting. And there's overwhelming evidence that America used depleted uranium, which has a radioactive half-life of like 4 billion years. And so it'll be, it's the leftover uranium that has been weaponized into the form of shells and other things. And if you search depleted uranium in Iraq and birth defects, you will see horrific images of kids that were born shortly after that, and I'm sure it's still going on today. And so, and I'm not recommending that, but you can see it for yourself. It's gross, and it's a horror show. It's embarrassing. There's so many things that we did as a country and the UN did in terms of war crimes that are, much worse than anything I've heard coming out about Russia. And I don't, believe even what's being said. And so for Zelensky and America to pretend they're somehow better than, it's just all the fake, the fake morality and the one-sided morality in these things. And Zelensky, I didn't really care about him, but now I genuinely dislike him for his, he's just a shill and just a puppet, and he seems to be, to me, he's crossed a line. And so the other thing I was going to talk about was the Home Depot white privilege thing. So I believe, most truthers and most white people don't acknowledge any sort of, not white people that aren't liberals, that there is something that is, some reality behind white privilege. And there is, right? White people have more advantages in America. Just like if you go to any country there's going to be a group of people, an ethnic group, that is, going to be better off than the system's going to be rigged in their favor. And so there's lots of white people in the truth community that complain about the so-called elite and the privileged class and Hollywood and all these people, but don't acknowledge that they have more privileges than, say, people of color, right? And this is a country that's 70% white, and it's built in with a rigged system, like every country has a rigged system, to give certain groups of people an advantage. And so that does exist. The problem with it is, and people complain about it, is that Americans in general have a rigged system. Our system is so much better and so much more rigged in our favor, the world economy, that all of us have an American privilege. Every person has an American privilege, and then based in your demographic and your sex and your sexual orientation and these things, you're going to have various levels of privileges, right? You're going to have it better than some people. But it's an unfair system. It's an economy based in that there are some people who are richer than others. There are some people who are more successful than others. And there is, a world where this is a case of haves and have-nots. And when people are the have-nots, they complain. But if you give them something and they become haves, they stop complaining. And, and so everyone's got to complain about how they're a victim and how they're screwed over. But they don't look at the way that they have privileges or they have advantages over other people in other countries or even in their own country, right? And the people who seize power are always going to take care of their own. That's how it works. That's how our system works, and it's built in nepotism. And so, anybody who's pushing this idea that white people should give up their privilege, give up your privilege, right? I could find a way that you have a privilege. I could talk to anybody, practically anybody, and I could find a way that they have a privilege over another group. I mean, there's lower castes and higher castes in India, and a lot of the lower castes are still above other lower castes, right? And so when you give up your privilege, then you can start asking other people to give up their privilege, because people don't give up their privileges, right? No matter, whatever group they are. In fact, it's a human reality to whine about the people who have advantages over you, which is what everybody does, but then not care about and deny that you have privileges over other people, right? So to the people that control the system, you want them to be ripped down from their pedestals, right? But when someone complains about your privilege, you say, stop whining. And that's the way it is. It's hardwired into everybody based in this being a very selfish system. And like I always say, that there is a spiritual solution, but there's never going to be a material solution to this. Until people stop sucking, then you're never going to have a solution to this system. And so the way that you fix that is connect them to God and make them more moderate and more selfless and less greedy and less self-centered. And that's through connecting to God on a deeper level. The heartfulness meditation I talk about all the time. That's why I say that's a solution. Because then people will be more sharing and more giving and will be less selfish and less, entitled and all the rest of it. But anyways, I'm wearing down here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalaughs and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.